Hi, I'm Courtney Burton. I'm the volunteer state president for AARP Minnesota, and today I am joined by Minnesota State Representative Bernie Perryman and Sergeant Jake Lanz of the St. Cloud Police Department to discuss crypto kiosk scams. Crypto kiosks have become scammers' preferred method of stealing money from Minnesotans, with older victims losing the most. The kiosks look like an ATM and are located throughout the state. In the next 10 minutes, we're going to learn what's being done at the Minnesota State Capitol to stop these scams. Representative Perryman is the author of a bill that will crack down on crypto kiosk scams, and she's joined by Sergeant Jake Lanz today, a member of the St. Cloud Police Department who investigates these cryptocurrency scams. Today, we're going to ask you 10 questions in 10 minutes. Are you ready for the challenge?
We're ready.
All right, we got a thumbs up. So, Representative, you're the author of a bill at the Minnesota State Capitol that would crack down on crypto kiosk scams. How did you get involved in this issue?
It's quite simple. My law enforcement here in St. Cloud brought it to my attention. Sergeant Jake Lanz here on the screen with me knew it was very serious and took it upon himself to reach out to me. And then AARP's representation reached out, and it was just a great stakeholder meeting to know we needed to get something done.
Awesome. Well, that's a great segue. Sergeant Lanz, let's talk about the basics. What is a crypto kiosk, and how have scammers been using them to steal money from people?
Well, kind of like you had mentioned earlier, they look just like an ATM. So imagine an ATM in reverse. You have cash, you want to purchase Bitcoin, or you're directed to purchase Bitcoin. So you take that cash, deposit it into the ATM or the crypto kiosk, and then it's being used to purchase Bitcoin. And in what we deal with, it's being sent to somebody else that's scamming you out of that cash.
So let me get this straight. I go to a machine that looks like an ATM, but it's an ATM in reverse where I'm actually buying a currency, and then I send it to somebody else.
Right. So instead of the physical cash that you have in your hand anymore, now you're purchasing digital currency or crypto.
Fascinating. So, Representative, you mentioned that it was brought to your attention by, police activity. Tell me what that experience was like for you when you heard about this and how it's affecting the community in St. Cloud.
My head went to fraud and what plays out in fraud and the vulnerable that are being taken for their hard-earned money, fixed income individuals, to do what's right for a family member. But then there's the fraudsters and the bad actors who are representing it as a credible way to help family members, when indeed it is that typical one hand's doing another, and the fraud that exists today popped its head up in an area that I would have never thought, which is crypto. And these kiosks, not a lot of oversight within the location they're sitting, and that was a key to that. I think something's sneaky here. And thanks to Sergeant Jake Lanz and other law enforcement, they have the numbers, and they can't, with those numbers, the individuals that are saying, oh no, these are all reputable, and if they don't work, the individuals get their money back. No, they can't fool us, especially when you got law enforcement tracking all this down.
Thank you. So, Sergeant Lanz, how are these scams impacting your community?
Well, I was able to look back once I started to get connected with Representative Perryman, and we started to discuss the potential for the bill change. And so our analyst here in St. Cloud helped me gather some of our numbers. And over the past couple of years, we've seen several dozen of these cases where people are directed to the crypto kiosks. under some type of pretense. They deposit, normally it's a couple $1,000s at a time. The most substantial case that we've seen was over the course of time, $80,000 someone lost. And so we have a couple dozen of those cases, and in total, it's resulted over a little bit of over $200,000 of a loss for our residents.
Well, this is a good segue. Sergeant Lanz, I'm going to stay with you for a second. In 2024, the state passed laws that tried to establish some guide rails around this whole thing of the crypto kiosk, like daily transaction limits, refunds, and warnings. We've heard that criminals are finding loopholes around that and still leaving victims very vulnerable. What are you seeing around that?
So the safeguards that they put into place only benefit people who are setting up a new account or a new wallet. And so when there's a new account, there is a delay in initial transactions. Now, the scammers are crafty, and they quickly figured out that if they had an existing wallet or a destination for that cash to go, there wasn't a cooling off period before that transaction went through. It just immediately processed. And so the ability for us to freeze those funds, get a return or recover any of the money, the law unfortunately doesn't help us there.
Gotcha. Representative, AARP is urging lawmakers to pass a full prohibition on these kiosks in Minnesota. You and your colleagues have seemed to agree that putting a stop to these kiosks is the right solution. What made you choose that path forward?
Because of the fact that we can't do something halfway. It has to be a full scrub, is what we felt, a full scrub, so that these machines are completely back to ground zero, which is nothing there. Then we can back into what people might want to do and with guardrails. But the bad actors find their way. If you do something halfway, it seems like the bad actors will find their way through it again, and it would just keep going. And through this, we found out that many law enforcement individuals were experiencing this once it came out. And it is a bipartisan bill, which is really a great thing for Minnesota. When we're in a tied House and a majority Senate, everyone agreed that this needed to be done. And I'm very thankful that the both sides came together to make this happen, to support our law enforcement as well, too. Their plates are already full with different things, whether it's fraud or stealing or whatever. This bill helps them not have to worry so much about the side of fraud with these crypto machines and hurting individuals as they are being fooled that these are these are just like cash machines. They're not. They are machines that go one way, and that's a bad way.
Well, thank you for that. As you're aware, we're very proud to be a nonpartisan organization, and the fact that this bill has bipartisan support makes my heart very happy in more ways than one. So the conversations that you had with your colleagues about this issue, what are people saying about it?
They're taking notice. In a tied House, you can't get everything done, because of one way or another. But they took notice of this one. From the Democrats to the Republicans, they have noticed that we sat at the table together. The Democrat author and myself sat at the table at the committee, and then when it all got through to go to the general registry, that is where everyone again took notice that we can do things that are good for all of Minnesotans and get that to the floor when we're voting for all of Minnesota. Let everyone be represented when it goes to the floor instead of just maybe from one committee to another. This is going to go for all Minnesotans.
That's awesome. So, Sergeant Lanz, do you have any tips for people to recognize these scams and how to avoid them?
Well, I just would caution people on unknown phone calls, numbers you don't recognize, emails that may appear that or where they're directing you to click on links and things like that. I really would advocate for everybody to have like a trusted family member, friend, or someone that they can go to verify or vet some of those requests. Law enforcement is never going to ask for money in exchange for some type of police action or to end a case. We hear a variety of these scams, the love scams where people are being met, meeting online and being talked into sending money. So I would just caution anybody that is being requested to send money where it's not something that you can tangibly see or speak to that person in person. I know a lot of what we do is digital and over the what we're doing right now. So that's kind of the way of the world, but either having somebody that you trust that you can have verify that information for you or contact law enforcement. We're normally up to date on current trends when it comes to scams, what we're seeing, and can try to give advice on that.
Thank you for that advice. I have a quick fun question for you. You're both used to making the trip down to the state capitol now, so I have a really important question. What are you playing in the car when you're driving to St. Paul?
Sergeant Lanz, you go first.
Well, for me, maybe a podcast. Otherwise, I'm going to throw on some country music on Pandora. That's kind of my go-to.
And if it's not a podcast for me, it's oldies in the 80s or 70s that I'll turn on. I'll go back and forth depending on the fast pace of the song.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. I've got one more question for you. Representative, the bill to stop these scams is HF 3642. It's on its way, as you mentioned, to the House and Senate floors. Many of your colleagues are starting to sign on to this bill as co-authors. For anyone listening to this conversation who wants to help, what can they do to help?
I would recommend that they watch and pay attention. They can go to minnesota.gov to our site where all the bills are listed, and you can watch who signs on to this bill and thank them. Reach out to the legislatures that are doing this and helping it, and just drop them an email that says thank you for supporting the file and the bill and supporting the two authors of Rep. Cagle and Representative Perryman.
Thank you for that. And congratulations. We did it. We weren't quite in 10 minutes, but I say 12 minutes is pretty good. 10 and 12, I'll take that. So I want to thank you both for taking the time to have this conversation. This is a scary topic because people don't even know what these machines are. So appreciate you helping and creating this bill to protect Minnesotans from fraudsters. So for those of you who are watching, we need your help to spread the word about the dangers of these scams. I invite you, along with Representative Perryman, to send a message to your legislatures about, hey, this is not right. We want you to support this. If they have any, you want to use the link in the comments to take action, please do. And if you have any questions about these scams or other forms of fraud, simply leave a comment in today's video or send us an email and the AARP team will respond. Thank you again for joining us. Appreciate you both. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.